Welcome back to the Stick 'em Up podcast. Brundi, it's been a lot quieter the last few days. Obviously, the trade deadline has now passed, and we know where everybody is and what a lot of these playoff teams are going to look like. But uh, yeah, we still got some stuff to talk about. There's a lot of drama going on in the league right now. It's kind of weird. So we've got a couple different things to cover. But if you have any of these that you want to do right off the top, like we can absolutely jump into one of those.
Yeah. Before we jump into, things going on in the league, I wanted to bring something up again because early in there we talked about, and it's kind of fitting because trade deadline is just past and whatnot, and we were going through a lot of hypothetical situations. And it was earlier this year where we saw in the NBA, I think it was like a draft pick from like a first round pick from like 2030. So like 5 years down the road, or I think at the time actually, it was earlier in the year in 2024. So 6 years down the road, we saw a first round pick traded, and we were talking about like a whole bunch of things surrounding that. Something really cool, and I'm just going to ask you if you think this is something we'd ever see in the NHL. I do have the specific teams here over in the NLL, so the National Lacrosse League. There was a trade the other day, and it was a 4-team trade. There was
a 4-team trade. I love it.
It was involved between Buffalo Bandits. What a sick name that is. The Buffalo Bandits, the Vancouver Warriors, the Albany Firewolves, and then
fourth lacrosse
something
team.
else. Yeah, something else.
Yeah, the Utah Yeti.
Doesn't say. Oh, the Ottawa Black Bears.
There we go, the Black Bears.
We're all involved in a 4-team trade. So, do you think we'd ever see something like that happen in the NHL? Where we've seen lots of 3-team trades, but where a 4th team gets in, and it's not really a trade revolved around like salary retention. It's just straight up, all teams are involved and they're actually making a move for their franchise. It's not just to retain on a guy going the other way.
I don't think we'll see it much, but I think we could definitely see it. I imagine it would be because for the most part, it's 2-team trades. And sometimes we see 3-team trades, and usually that's the 3rd team just retaining on somebody, usually the biggest contract. But we have seen 3-team trades where it's a kind of an even swap of value. It's just a lot of guys getting a change of scenery and mixing up the lineup, maybe changing what, a certain need for a position. And if you get one of those trades where it's kind of 3 equal teams and maybe somebody else sneaks in as a 4th team to do a bit of retention, I could definitely see it happening. I don't know if it will. Like, it's so weird because so many of the GMs and the guys higher up in the NHL are really old school. They don't like doing too much fancy stuff. But, if you could find 4 teams and they all have stuff each other wants, I mean, why not, right?
Yeah, completely agree. Just wanted to
be really cool.
Get your take on that. Is again, it's something that we never see happen in the NHL. So when we see it happen over in other leagues, it's always kind of fun to just think about if that's a possibility that we could potentially see. But moving over to the NHL now, everything that's going on around there. I mean, probably just kick it off with the biggest news that I think has kind of come out since the trade deadline. And that was that Aaron Ekblad suspended 20 games for violating the terms of the NHL's just PED program, basically.
Yeah, the performance enhancing drug program.
It sounds like he took some medication to help with an injury that he was dealing with, didn't run it by team officials, team staff members, and when he got the results back of a random drug test, he found out that he had failed and was automatically slapped with a 20-game suspension. That is that's just the suspension that is attached to first-time offenders for this. So Florida has 18 games remaining in the regular season. We know that they're for sure going to be a playoff team, so Ekblad will missed the remainder of the regular season and missed games 1 and 2 of the playoffs.
Yeah, and he's missing that without pay. So, to any of the people who are thinking that, you know, he was like, yeah, I'm just gonna sit out and wait till the playoffs and do that. So I'm just gonna fail this on purpose. Like, no, he didn't. He didn't fail a piss test on purpose. Like that.
Yeah.
That's just absurd. I do wonder, and I'm not sure because I know you were reading up a bit on it the other day. Do you know? Is there a because there's just kind of the flat 20 game suspension for the first time offense. Is that like within a certain range of necessarily like which rule he broke or like which drug he took? Because like
I'm
there's
not 100% sure. We don't know exactly what it was that was in the and like as far as we know, and we could be wrong, but this is what's coming out, so this is how I'm going to take it. I'm not going to assume anything else other than what we know is he took something that he thought was going to help him and it contained something else. It wasn't like he was, shooting up roids or anything like people are jumping to the conclusion of. So again, we don't know exactly what he took, what was in that medication he took. So,
yeah.
And honestly, we'll probably never know. I don't think they'll ever come out and say so.
Yeah. I think it's similar to the Nichushkin thing. Like they can't say legally. So unless somebody leaks it and risks their job, or the player himself says, I want to say what it was, we'll never know. And it's so weird being in that situation because like you have no idea if he's telling the truth, and even if he is lying, it could still be nothing, right? Like he could have smoked a quarter of a joint, or he could have been shooting up fentanyl. Like the range on the things that all fall under this one rule is massive. All kinds of steroids, like any kind of THC stuff, and then there's like all these hard drugs. It's like it feels like those aren't the same. I'm assuming it's not any of that bad stuff. Like at worst, it's steroids or THC, I would say. But like, it's crazy that like, could you imagine?
I would assume because
if
like
it was something that bad, could you imagine if it was fentanyl and it was like 20 games and then he's back? That'd be crazy.
I don't. It's so weird because like I would have to do more digging on the Nichushkin thing, but they said he violated the terms of like the performance enhancing substance program. So I'm leaning that like it wasn't like it was like he smoked a joint or something like that, or had like some because I don't know, it's just weird when they call it performance like it's I don't know, it's weird that they put it that way. So whatever it was he took, I got to imagine, and again I don't know because I haven't been able to find anything, but I don't think there's like a range, like in 2 years your slate's wiped clean. If it happens again, you get another 20. I think it's probably one of those things where it's you're on there, and if it happens again,
it's kind of a permanent record thing.
Yeah, it just keeps increasing. I would imagine. Again, don't know for sure, but
a 20 game suspension
with something like this.
After that, you no matter what it is, you check with your doctor. Like, hey, here's a screenshot. This Tylenol good? Like, you just double check everything just to be sure. But
it's a tough lesson to learn getting the 20 games, but Ekblad will definitely learn his lesson and will now take the proper precautionaries. And again, like you said, the people being like, oh, it's just so he can sit on LTIR, and it's like, no, he's suspended. He's not getting paid. I don't even think he can be involved in like practices or anything. Like he's suspended.
No, he's suspended. Like he can't use the facilities, I don't think, because it's not like an injury thing. It's a suspension. So I'm pretty sure he's not allowed.
It's not Florida trying to maneuver. And if it was the case, they would have done it before the trade deadline. They would have gotten even more cap space to make it look like. So people on that train are just bitter. They're just it's just weird. Like it hurts Florida. It doesn't benefit them in any way that this is happening. It only hurts them, and it only hurts Ekblad. It doesn't. Well, maybe kind of benefits him a bit because he gets to kind of, not put as much strain on his body down the stretch, but he's not getting paid. He's not getting to be with the team.
Yeah.
He's sitting at home and
if he
not
was
practicing
that
with the
injured,
boys.
he would either go on LTIR, or if the league said he's not that injured, we're past the deadline. The cap is not a problem for them. They could have, if he's really wants to bad enough that he would fail a drug test, he would just say healthy scratch me instead. Like it would be that easy.
Yeah,
So,
just say I'm day to day and just keep making me a healthy scratch. Like,
yeah.
If they really want to work their way in the system, there was other ways. This was not on purpose. This was, again, from what we know, a very accidental thing. And again, I'm sure Ekblad has learned his lesson, and we know Florida's going to be in the playoffs, so Ekblad will be back for Game 3, assuming on the road in the playoffs.
Yeah, very good chance of it. And this also makes it even more interesting. We were talking recently about what happens with Ekblad going into, this offseason. He's 29 years old. He's in the prime of his career, and he's a UFA. So who knows if this has any bearing on whether they'll bring him back. I don't know if it necessarily would, but it's definitely got to affect his money-making capability if he goes to free agency.
I don't think so. I think based on, again, the story that's come out, if more comes out, maybe, but I think if it's an accidental thing, and again, I think it's something he's learned his lesson about. I don't think it will impact that.
I don't think it's gonna stop teams from going for him or anything, or cost him huge amounts. But these agents and GMs, when they get together to talk about contracts, they are bringing up there's a reason that everyone under the sun in those organizations recommends you don't go to your own arbitration or your contract talks, because one side's gassing you up, and then the guy who allegedly wants you is saying everything negative he can find to try and drive the price down. And
but in this day and age in the NHL, teams will do anything to win. There will be at least one team out there that's willing to pay him what he's worth, and all the agents have to do is just say, all right, well, he's not going to sign here because these guys are paying what he's worth. And then if the teams really want him that bad, they'll crumble. And because all it takes is one team to be like, yeah, we don't care about this. We'll pay him what he's worth. And then if other teams want him, you either got to step up and be willing to match that, or you roll over and say, all right, well, we don't want you that bad.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to cost him very much, but a couple $100,000 on the contract, I wouldn't be surprised, per year maybe. But either way, we'll see what happens with him if he stays. But for now, he is out for the rest of the regular season.
Seth Jones got to step up now.
Yeah, very quickly became the number one right defenseman in Florida all of a sudden.
Logging a lot of minutes. What do you want to move on to next here? We only got a couple things today.
Yeah, we don't have a ton of different stuff to talk about, but you know what? Let's rattle this off. Nathan MacKinnon records career point 1,000. Do you know if it was a goal or an assist?
First time was an assist. Second time was an assist.
Oh, okay. Yeah. For those who don't know, he got an assist against, I believe it was the Blackhawks.
Yeah.
And after everybody coming out onto the ice celebrating, everyone's cheering, having a great time, especially in Colorado, and the goal gets called back.
That's tough.
That's brutal. They had already grabbed the puck for sure. What do you think happened to the first puck? He probably has both, right?
I don't even know.
I
don't even know what you do, because once the refs or a player takes a puck and takes it to the bench, the refs aren't coming back to grab it. They're grabbing a new puck now. So
yeah, the refs aren't.
I really don't have no clue. I have no clue what would happen there.
It's got the little tape on it with a Sharpie that says 0.100 and then 0.100 part 2.
Yeah. You know, very well could be the case. It is interesting. So first of all, congrats to Nathan MacKinnon for 1,000 points. That is not easy to do in this league at all.
I believe he was the 100. I believe he was the 100th player to do it.
Yeah. Currently sitting at 1,001 point, as he ended up getting another assist in the game to cap off a 3-0 win against Chicago. So I started to think, and I was looking it up because So he's obviously the very first player from the 2013 class to reach 1,000 points. And I specifically remember this draft because it was for the majority of the year, not the entirety of the year leading up to the draft, Seth Jones was looking like he was going to be the first overall pick. And then it was kind of like, all right, now it's not going to be Seth Jones. Jonathan Drouin, who is Nathan McKinnon's teammate in Halifax, started to make a rise. I was like, all right, now it's looking like he's going to be the first pick. And then it started to lean to, okay, now it's going to be Nathan MacKinnon. And then all of a sudden, Alexander Barkov's name started to come up. It was one of those years where, leading up to the draft, at least, I think everybody kind of knew going into the draft that MacKinnon was going to go first overall. But for a majority of the year, like, it was up in the air that, like, there's multiple guys that could go first overall. Kind of like what we're seeing this year, actually, with one defenseman and, 3 forwards that are all kind of in that mix to go first overall. And obviously we know MacKinnon did end up going first overall. Out of all of those players, MacKinnon and those other top 3 guys with him, MacKinnon has the most points at 1,001. The next closest is Alexander Barkov with 771.
Yeah.
Like, that is and again, it's not even a diss to Barkov. He's the best two-way player in the league. He's just a tad under a point per game guy. The next closest is Elias Lindholm, 589. That's just crazy that, again, going through the entire season leading up to it, you didn't necessarily know who was going to go first overall. And then seeing it now, 12 years down the road, what a separation it is between MacKinnon and the next closest guy in terms of career points.
Yeah, just absolutely flew past everybody else involved in that draft. Like, yeah, like you said, he's like is he over 300 points ahead? No, he's like 230 points ahead.
I think, yeah, something like that.
But still, I mean,
that's 230, yeah, you're correct.
230 past Alexander Barkov is pretty damn good. So yeah, congrats to him. And it's so weird looking at some of these guys who their career stats who bloom so much later in their career. Like, for so long, like, it's insane to think about for the past 5 years, but like 2017, 18, people were starting to call MacKinnon close to a bust. Like, it wasn't like a Yakupov situation, but it was like, he's supposed to be this franchise guy, and he's just not that guy. He's the guy who can't take it to that next level. And all of a sudden, all at once, he just absolutely clicked, turned it on. He's been a beast for the past 6 years. Like,
yeah,
his career stats, 1,001 points, insane, in 856 games. That's obviously very good, but you might expect him to be a little bit higher than that per game wise. But that's because he was, I believe, he might have been under a point per game in his first 500 games. Like, he had to back to improve that number to where it is.
Yeah, like, for people who don't have the stats pulled up and are kind of wondering, like, oh, MacKinnon was never a bust. Again, we're not saying he ever was, but there was people kind of talking about that idea. And that's because, I mean, his rookie year, very solid, 63 points in 82 games. Like, that's a very solid rookie year. The following year, 38 points in 64 games, so took quite a bit of a step back. The following year, 52 points in 72 games, and then 53 points in 82 games. And then he did go 97, 99, 93, dropped down to 65 points in the COVID year in 48 games. And then the other won the Cup, 88 points in 65 games. And we do know he dominated the playoffs, but, those first 4 years, I mean, wasn't on good Colorado teams, but again, for
and that's
a first overall pick, you were kind of hoping by year 4 that he would take off, and 16 goals, 53 points in 82 games. Like, that's worse than his rookie year was.
Yeah. So for
again,
all the people thinking that Bedard's going to be a bust, give him a couple of years, right?
Just give him good players. Give Bedard good players.
Yeah. Hell, give him a chance.
Speaking of Chicago, actually, this is something I wanted to run by you because I started to think about this more. Chicago is, I just don't get what they're doing. I get, this side of like we're talking right now, like give Bedard players, he can't do it all alone. And Ryan Donato has been their second best player all year behind Bedard. He has been absolutely dominating. I think it's such a mistake, and it's going to hurt them that they didn't trade him.
That they didn't trade Donato?
Yeah. Like you look at what the market was this year for players and what, third and fourth line guys were going for. And then you look at a guy like Ryan Donato, who in 63 games, 23 goals, 48 points, he's only a -9 on a really bad Chicago team. I feel like you need to capitalize on that. Donato is already 28, so is he a long-term, part of your long-term plans? I would assume not. He's got 48 points. That's already higher than his career high, which was 31 points in the 21-22 season with Seattle. He's already set a career high in goals with 23. Next highest that same year with Seattle, 16. Like, this is a guy that across his whole career has been a 20 to 30 point guy.
Yeah.
And, is he gonna be putting up 30 goals, 60 plus points next year? Maybe. But is it worth taking that risk when you look at the absolute haul that you could have gotten back for him at the deadline, and whether you went out and you got another first to add to your war chest of picks, or you get a prospect, or you get a younger, NHL player that maybe has more long-term upside for your future. I see people ragging on Pittsburgh, like, oh, you need to trade Raquel. Oh, at least you have Raquel, and he's on a good contract. He's a guy that is proven enough that you can move him anytime. Whereas Donato, I'm like, next year he could be back down to 14 goals, 30 points in 82 games. Yeah. And if you try to move him, then you're definitely not getting much, because first of all, his numbers aren't as good, and I again, it very well could happen, but it's hard to imagine that the market is going to be as crazy as it was this year. Again, where we're seeing third liners go for, second round picks and whatnot.
Maybe I honestly wouldn't be incredibly shocked if it was a similar market next year, because there's we're entering this weird time in the NHL where as long as I can remember, there's, the contenders, the contender-ish, those top teams, and then there's however many rebuilding. There's always quite a few rebuilding at once. The last few years, the teams that are truly rebuilding are there's maybe 4. The rest of them are either, they're at least trying. Like teams like Columbus, and they're doing it this year. They were at least always trying to win. They're not selling out, getting to the bottom. And now the Sharks, they're building their way up. The Canadians, they're building their way up. The Penguins are on their way down. Somehow Washington completely said, fuck that. We are not going into the rebuild. They've gone to the freaking top. They're going for the President's Trophy. There's so few teams that aren't buying. If you have good stuff and you're willing to buy, I wouldn't be surprised next year if it was a similar situation where I've got a good player and you've got 25 teams that are yeah, we'll take him.
Yeah, but it's more so, is he going to put up these numbers again next year? Is it one of those years where everything's just going right for him? Or is it this is who he is now? He's going to be a 30-goal guy. He's going to be a 60-point guy every year type of thing.
Yeah, and I was just speaking to the overall market, not necessarily Donato specifically. Yeah. I have no idea. I mean, other than Bedard's flashes, Blackhawk games are generally not as fun as other teams to watch. So I haven't watched him much this year, but
it's been really good this year.
It depends how he's getting these points. Is he a guy who's kind of driving his line, and is he gonna reproduce this? Depending on how his play looks, maybe he's in his prime at 28 years old, but I don't mind them holding on to him if they extend him. You can't just lose him for nothing. There's no point, obviously. But if they do extend him and, keep him for a few years and, just give a bit of any kind of supporting cast to Bedard, even if he's not part of the team when they become legitimate contenders. If he kind of just helps out for the next 2 to 3 years and then maybe they get peanuts for him later, I wouldn't hate it. Like, at some point, you can't you don't want to be Buffalo. You can't just sell forever. Eventually, Bedard wants to win. That's the whole point of drafting him.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, I get it.
I don't hate it,
The
but
thing is, if you do resign Donato, I think you're going to have to overpay for him.
Yeah.
Just because he's looking at it and knowing, like, man, if I go to free agency, there's always going to be at least one team that is going to offer him a fat contract.
Yeah.
And so if Chicago wants to keep him around, you're probably going to have to overpay a bit to convince him not to go to the open market and have the ability to talk to every single team and see what's out there.
What do you think his next contract should look like? And what do you think a team would be willing to overpay to?
I mean, again, like, it's the way with the NHL now is it's always, what have you done lately? Not
Right.
as necessarily like what has your career been in? Really doesn't have much of a playoff resume, so can't really go much off of that. I mean, I think in my opinion, like, at most he's worth $5 million.
Yeah.
Again, like, if he can put up these numbers, 5 to 5.5, somewhere in there. I think there's a team that will offer him at least 6. I think there's a team that will offer him $6 million per year, 4 years or something. I could very well see that happening if he goes to free agency.
I could see
and
that.
And again, with the cap going up, if teams are desperate, and there's always these teams that make these weird signings, and it's because they go in with their hopes of getting player A, and then player A decides to go elsewhere, and then they're like, well, we had this spot open, we got to find someone to fill it. They turn to the next guy, and they might have to overpay a bit to make sure that they secure at least someone. So probably worth 5 to 5.5, I would say. Very well could get 6 to 6.5.
Yeah, and you know what? If that's the case, and that's what GMs are thinking, if I'm the general manager of the Blackhawks, I signed Donato to a 2-year extension. I give him 7. I give him 7. If he really wants more term, I'll see if 7.5 by 2 works. And then you keep him for the next year, and you can sell him at the deadline. He's got 2 years left. You have 2 retention slots open. You can give him out at 3 and 3.5 or 3 3/4 or whatever it would be, and
yeah,
somebody will probably bite at that, and then you get another year out of them. Just any bit of supporting cast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe drive that price up a bit. Yeah, I don't hate that. But moving along, we have a little bit of fallout news from the trade deadline, and it was reported that a week prior to the trade deadline, Mikko Rantanen had made up his mind that he was not going to sign an extension with the Carolina Hurricanes. Don't know exactly if that message was necessarily passed on to Carolina, if they knew for sure that Rantanen wasn't signing an extension or wasn't willing to. Apparently, it sounds like there was only 4 teams he was willing to sign with, and that was Vegas, Dallas, Florida, and it's been leaked Toronto, but then Edmonton fans are saying, well, he was willing to sign here, we just didn't have enough. So
the one
Toronto
I saw was Edmonton.
Yeah, like I've seen for both that, both teams were actively trying to make a deal work and that he was willing. So it very well could be 5 teams and both, but we know for sure that Vegas, Dallas, and Florida, he was for sure willing to sign with. And, I see a lot of people kind of dogging on Rantanen for all this, but, like, I don't blame him one bit.
No, not at all. If he is looking for some type of sympathy, I would have a problem with it.
I don't think
but I'm not seeing any of that, so I really don't.
He's just happy to be in Dallas, and
he's
so far 2 games look good. 2 goals, 1 assist.
He's making the best out of a rough situation. I think there was just a ton of miscommunication with between Rantanen and his agent and the office of the Avalanche.
Yeah.
And they played hardball. They flew a little too close to the sun, and the straw broke the camel's back. He got traded out. I don't think the agent or Rantanen had any idea they were even close to entertaining actually trading him, especially
Yeah.
when did it happen? Early February? Like, if it
End of
was going to
January.
happen,
End of Jan.
yeah, like that's insane. Like, they would have figured at least they'd wait till the deadline until the pressure's really on if they were ever going to do it. I think they thought they had him by the balls. I think they were like, they will never trade me. Like, they're not going to.
Mhm.
And it sounds like they were only about $500K off in their price, and he got traded, and Rantanen went, "What do you mean I'm getting traded?" The agent's like, "Yeah, kind of fucked it up." So
It's the exact same thing as another guy that was actually just traded at the deadline. Well, actually twice. Oliver Shillington. You know, we're us being in the area, we know lots of Flames fans that, you know, are kind of bitter towards Shillington because of, you know, the whole situation he went through, not playing for as long as he did, Calgary being very good to him and respecting his privacy during the time. And then Flames fans are like, well, he just left, like, you know, and then it ended up coming out when he went back to Calgary. It was, I believe he was his agent was trying to kind of do similar to what Rantanen was trying to leverage a better deal, and it was through with Calgary, because I believe Calgary had an offer on the table, and Shillington's agents were going around being like trying to get an offer from another team to try and use that to leverage a better deal with Calgary. And, you know, Calgary wasn't sure what their defense was going to look like, so they went out and made some other moves. And then we're like, well, deal's off the table now because you weren't committing to us.
yeah,
So it basically, at the end of the day, it's, again, kind of similar to Rantanen. Shillington didn't want to leave Calgary. It was his agents that tried to play hardball and get him a little bit more money, and then it blew up in their face, and then he had no choice but to move on and sign elsewhere. So, but with Carolina, like, I see Canes fans bitter towards Rantanen, and first of all, it's every player's right to choose where they want to play. Once you get to that UFA period, like, you've earned the right to go where you want to go. You know, you can say all the great things you want about Carolina, but at the end of the day, if he doesn't want to sign there, you can't blame him for that. He didn't really get a chance to settle in there. Again, it was a month. It's hard to, you know, pick up your entire life, go to somewhere, and then be like, all right, I know you just got here and you don't really know anything about here, but sign away the next 8 years of your life to staying here. It's tough. It's
sure.
tough.
I see both sides. I think nobody's in the wrong here. I think
I think
I think Rantanen's fine for going there. You get to choose, especially when you're that level of superstar. Choose your destination, man. Like, McDavid could choose to play for any team any day if he decided to. But you know what? Yeah, if my team signed traded for this big dude and he was great, and it's like, we already got this sick team and we're willing to pay you a ton of money, and he says, no, I don't want to. Yeah, fuck you. What's your problem, buddy? And that doesn't make Rantanen a bad guy or anything, but like,
I think
as a
Carolina
fan base,
fans,
yeah, screw him a little bit.
But I think the fan base should also be upset with Carolina's management. They're not really that upset with their management. Like, well, yeah, for a million, but like, this is a big one. Like, they're like, oh, fuck Rantanen. I'd be sitting there like, fuck our GM, Tulski, the owners. Like, what are you guys doing going out and trading for this guy and then not knowing you're going to get an extension signed, and then after the deadline sit there, oh, woe was us, the contract extension with Dallas took too long, we couldn't make any other moves. Why didn't you do what Colorado did? Rip the Band-Aid off, trade him before the deadline. Don't wait until the final hour to make a move and be like, oh, shucks, he hurt us and we ran out of time. You get no sympathy there. You should have made the move when you knew a week out he wasn't going to sign, when you kept pushing and pushing, and they were just like, no, we're good. You should have done it sooner. So,
Yeah.
Again, I guess, yes, you can be mad at Rantanen, but I think if you're a Carolina fan, you should be more frustrated with your GM and the management for not doing what Colorado did. Just rip the Band-Aid off and make your moves to make your team better. Because, yeah, you got Stankoven who's looked good and you got some picks, but you're much worse off on this season now not having either Rantanen or having Natchez, who is having a great year.
Sure, but Natchez already wanted out, and
but did he? I mean, he signed an extension to stay there. He was finally getting that top line time. Like that's the only reason he wasn't happy.
He only has 1 year left.
He signed a 2-year bridge deal this offseason.
Right.
When it was looking like they were going to trade. The only reason Natchez wanted out is he just wanted to be a first line guy like he felt he was. And he wasn't getting that the years before in Carolina, but he was getting that first line time this year, and look how well he was playing. He was a beast.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think the Canes came out bad necessarily. Like they're a little bit worse now, but they're a team that's built to be good in the future, and they got 2 firsts, and they got Stankoven back, and they also got whatever it was that they got from the Avs. Like they're set up pretty nice going forward, and especially at the deadline next year, I expect them to be throwing quite a few firsts out the door to really buy.
Yeah. Yeah, my biggest thing was like, yes, if you're a Carolina fan, you can be upset with Rantanen, but more of your anger should be more focused towards your GM, because
that's fair.
You should have just ripped the band off. I just hate that pulling the thing at the end of, we tried to make a move work afterwards, and trying to like put the blame on Rantanen for negotiating with Dallas. Like, you should have done it sooner. You didn't need to wait until the 11th hour to get the move done and then be like, well, we ran out of time. Like, you knew it was.
I mean, but what if the deal can't be done? What if, because Rantanen said he didn't have any trade protection, did he? Dallas. Sorry,
19
Dallas wouldn't. Right,
Dallas wouldn't agree to the trade unless he had an extension. Yeah, like, why didn't you get the talks going earlier? Why didn't you start a week out and be like, all right, where do you want to go?
I mean, do we know how long they were in talks? Like, it sounds like Rantanen caved and went for the money that was offered at the last second.
But it was only the night before the deadline. What was it when I messaged you? It was like 11 p.m. the night before the trade deadline that it was like talked like that a deal is done, and now it's just about getting the contract extension done. But that's tough. Like, I'm sure Rantanen's age. Well, I don't know where Rantanen's agent is necessarily located, but I can't imagine Rantanen was up at 2 a.m. over in Carolina, like trying to work it out. It was like,
I do wonder how in the morning he was in the second contract talks compared to the ones with the Avs, because
he would have had to have been, because
it sounds like this agent he's
the one that's willing to sign.
Weird.
Like, he was the one that had to sign the deal, so I imagine he was pretty involved in this one, being like, because I got to imagine his agent tried in Carolina, but at the end of the day, it was Rantanen that was like, I don't want to sign here. Like, yeah, you can get me as good of an offer as you want, which his agent actually got him a pretty damn good offer from Carolina. But at the end of the day, he's the one that has to live there. He's the one that has to play there and spend his life there. His agent just makes bank off his players and does whatever he wants, type of thing. Like, Rantanen's the one that has to be in that location. So, very weird situation, but it's all said and done now. Rantanen is a Dallas Star, and
well, it's done on that side. Definitely not on the drama side, because I believe it was just yesterday that Brind'Amour, the coach of the Hurricanes, was saying that as soon as Rantanen showed up, he implied that he wouldn't be signing extension with the team as soon as he showed up. And earlier today, the Rantanen's agent made a public statement saying, we've got a ton of respect for Brind'Amour, both as a player and a coach, but he is completely misinformed about this situation. So I got to imagine there's going to be at least one more somebody saying something about it. Won't really have any consequences at this point. Rantanen's locked in Dallas. Trade's done. It's over. But we'll let you know if there's any more drama coming up.
Hopefully, I gotta imagine for Rantanen, he's just listening to it like, you know what, you guys can bark back and forth, but I'm just playing now. I'm here in Dallas with all my Finnish buddies. Like, I'm just playing hockey now. If you guys want to bark back and forth, go for it. But I imagine he's just ready to put all behind him and just focus on his career in Dallas now. I would hope.
Yeah, I definitely
I think
imagine
he's
so.
earned that. He's earned the right to just play and just leave all that stuff in the past now. Because again, like you said, Dallas or Carolina got a lot of good pieces back. So
Yeah, and
just make it work with those picks, and I'm assuming you trade them to get other pieces in there because you want to try and win now with what you got.
A Stars Hurricane final would be very fun to watch on a
It
hockey
would be.
level and a bit of a storyline there now. I'm also
Well,
finding
same as where Colorado Dallas, we might be getting that first round, and that'll be
that'll be a
that'll
barn
be
burner.
something. And we at the end of the episode we will talk about the current standings and kind of the outlook on the playoffs and whatnot. So
yeah, I got a quote here from Andy Scott, the agent for Rantanen, and I didn't realize he had said this, but it looks like he said this after the trade to Dallas regarding Rantanen. He felt it out. It just didn't make sense from more of a hockey standpoint than anything, from a style of play standpoint.
which I mean kind of makes sense. Like we talk about Carolina, they're more of a defensive team. Like you don't see players putting up crazy offensive numbers. You see Rantanen's numbers and how, compared to his career that he had with Colorado and the hot start he's already gotten off to a Dallas, like it kind of makes sense. Like what was it here?
I'm just surprised he would even say, like, even if whether that's true, false, either way, I'm surprised that the agent would say that and not just it just didn't work out. Just blanket statement.
Yeah.
Don't blame the city, the fan base,
I think it's
the org,
more to like,
damn.
But yeah, I think that's kind of what it is. It's like it's wasn't due to the fans, wasn't necessarily due to the way he was treated there, the city. It's just he just didn't feel like he fit in on that team long term, and fair enough. Like that tells you that's just a guy that wants to win and wants to be the best player he can be, and he felt like he couldn't do that on Carolina, and you can't blame him. There's players that go there and excel, and some that don't. Like that happens with every team.
Yeah. But we can move on from that. I'm sure we'll be talking about it probably at some point in the future. We got a couple different other things that we can bring up here. I got one quickly about the Canucks. The Vancouver Canucks. So this came out. There was I believe they worked in media. I will leave this person nameless, but they worked in the media section of the Vancouver Canucks organization, and they recently said that back when they worked there, they do not work there anymore. They had always had at least 2 PR interns in the office every day, and part of their daily tasks were to comb social media, articles, Twitter, Reddit, emails, all of that for anything involving the top guys, the GM, the owners, anything. Like Reddit comments, shit like that. And they compile them all into an email, and then they get sent at the end of every single day to Patrick Alvin, Jim Rutherford, Rick Tocchet. Like when all these guys were there, they go to the presidents as well, the Aquilinis. I can't imagine this is going to make big news, but I saw this and I just had to bring it up because that is so hilarious. Like if any of you guys are listening and you're on Twitter, you're on Reddit, there's a good chance if you're a Canucks fan, you can be heard by the management by making a fucking post.
That's interesting though, yeah. So I wonder if it's like they're trying to find out all the bad things people are saying or trying to figure out like what fans want or what fans are expecting and putting that. Like it's
it sounds like it comes directly from the top down, from like the owners, from the Aquilinis and them. So I don't doubt it's, trying to figure out where do we stand with the fan base? Do they like us? Do they hate us? But
yeah.
That's just so funny that like they had multiple people. They had 2 daily, always sending off emails. It's like imagine like you want to work for a hockey org and they're like getting you to send click the little blue link and it goes right to a Joe Schmo with a Reddit comment that says Elias Pettersson sucked ass last night. Like
Yeah,
that's that's kind of wild for
that's
a
interesting though.
huge
Yeah,
alert.
I didn't hear anything about that at all.
But yeah, there's not really much to talk about it, but I just thought that was really funny, and
I wonder if more
it's starting to
teams
make
do
its
that.
rounds. Yeah, I
I wonder
mean,
if more teams start to do that.
yeah, like I can't imagine you need people sending off many emails about a lot of it, but I'm sure most teams do have, several social media people who go around and whether it's interacting with the fan base or just seeing stuff and like being like, "Hey boss, this is a very common theme." Like just so you know, I imagine that's pretty common.
Yeah, I would think so. I would think
But
so.
yeah, it'll be interesting to
Um,
see. Maybe that'll be maybe it'll come out that a couple of teams have something like that. Who knows?
yeah, very very possible. I wonder if maybe something like this, maybe more people speak up about previous experiences and maybe similar stuff they've had to do. Alex Ovechkin recently recorded his 33rd goal of the season, empty netter against Seattle. He now sits only 9 goals away from breaking Wayne Gretzky's all-time goal record. Um, 18 games remaining in the season, I believe, for the Caps.
Yeah, like
Does he get it
that's
done?
it's looking a
Yeah,
lot more likely
18,
now.
18
It's
games. He
looking
needs
a
to average a
lot
goal
more likely.
every second game.
Yep. And this team's got a plus 65 goal differential on the year. Does that lead the league? Second in the league to the Jets, who are 76. Like plus 65. They're
They were what, a
42,
minus
14, and 8.
30 something making the playoffs last year?
I think it was
Like, what a
minus
turnaround.
37. I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure.
like
Like that
what a
was,
turnaround.
yeah. Like that's an insane turnaround. Like that's probably damn near close to historic. I don't know if we've ever seen a team boost up that much, that hard. Like they're going for the
Yeah,
presidents, man. So
yeah.
the fact that they're doing this is incredible. And at the rate he's scoring right now, it looks like Ovi's going to do it this year. I
The
I
fact that
didn't think he was going to, but he
I thought
hasn't
it
stopped.
was I what the going into the season, I was thinking like, there's a chance. It wasn't super likely, but there was a small chance. And then once he started going this season and the way he was scoring, it was like, okay, he's gonna do it this season. And then breaks his leg. And it's like, oh fuck, now it's out the window. There's no way he does this year now. Missed like what, 14 games?
Something like that.
And then comes back and just picks up right where he left off, and now it's looking like there's a very good chance he does break it this season. Like what a roller coaster it's been, like absolutely incredible, and kind of sucks that in light of this historical quest he's on and the way he's playing, the way the Caps are doing, the reports coming out about Ovi's in the last year. Well, next year season will be the last year of his contract, and reports are coming out that he's not going to sign an extension with Washington, and next season is most likely his last. He's hoping that when he's done in the NHL after next season, he can go back and play some games over in the KHL with the team he used to play for over there. So kind of puts a little bit of a damper on it. Don't know 100% how accurate all that is, but um, again, the fact that he's single digits away, um, you know, down the stretch is just going to be very exciting for Washington, for all hockey fans to keep an eye on. Ovi's he just keeps getting closer and closer.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely think I am definitely think he will do it this year at this point. I believe you asked me mid-January, something like that. Like he had been back from his injury for a little bit, and I was fairly firmly in like he's not going to do it. Like he can score and he'll probably get close, but like I don't think he's going to do it. But at this point, it seems damn near inevitable. It might get close, which will that probably boost the ratings something fierce for those last few Capitals games at
Oh
the end of
yeah,
the year.
oh yeah,
But yeah, looks it for all intents and purposes, it looks like he's done once this contract is up in North America. Uh, I'm pretty sure I don't even think it was a leak. I think he himself said it, that he's not going to
Yeah,
be signing a new
definitely wasn't a
contract.
leak. It came out. I just never fully know because like
Oh, okay.
when I just see reports on that, it's like reporters will always take things and like twist it. Like there's a situation in San Jose where player was on a podcast and said something, and they spun it to make it sound like he was bashing the coach, and then that report comes out and it's like, you know, Nikolai Kovalenko, for those who are wondering. And then people are like, oh, why is he bashing the coach? Like, we got to trade him. It's like, and it's just stuff that gets blown out. So never fully know with that kind of stuff. But worth noting, the next few games for the Caps, Anaheim Ducks, San Jose Sharks coming up, Detroit Red Wings, Philadelphia Flyers. There's a chance where we're talking, you know, on Thursday next week, and it's like, fuck, Ovi's 2 goals away, 1 goal away with some of these matchups coming up.
Yeah, I could easily see him putting up another hat trick, and bam, then it's there right for the taking. Like,
Yeah,
they have so many games left that he's in the last 10. Like, they have solidly clinched the playoffs. Unless it's really hurting the performance of the team, everyone out there is going to be like, dude, I want to pass to Ovi for goal 890 of his career. Like, everyone is looking for him, even more so than they have his entire career.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's going to be great. I hope that they bring in Nick Backstrom for
suits up for one game to
not to suit up, but like bring him
suit up,
bring him to the game, get him a nice box seat, and have a camera on him for when it happens.
Nah, man, you suit up, and him and Ovi just sit on the bench when he's 1 goal away. Power play, you two go out there, 5-on-5, just sit on the bench. Everybody go out there and dive. Backstrom slides it to Ovi, blasts it home. Backstrom walks off into the sunset.
Yeah,
can officially retire right there.
Yeah, he makes the pass. Ovi one-times it into the net. Backstrom pulls a contract out from his hockey pants, and he signs it at center ice. He signs his retirement papers, leaves them at center ice.
It's gotta be like the movies. Like, he dishes it to Ovi. They're all celebrating. As the whole team's celebrating, Backstrom just goes off the ice right there.
Yeah, the Zamboni doors.
Cinema. We'd get a movie. We get a movie that it's gonna be incredible when he breaks it this year.
Yeah.
Other than that, I think all we really got before a fun little thing at the end is just kind of talking about the standings, where we're at now. After the trade deadline, a little bit of a preview of, you know, kind of the playoffs coming up. As things are starting to heat up, we're starting to get a bit of a better look at maybe who's in, who's out, and that. So where do you want to start here? Do you want to start over in the West or the East?
Yeah, let's talk about the East first. I'm glad that I'm still here. We're still going. I thought my power went out for a second. My lights just all popped at once. So
I was wondering what that sound was.
I'm sitting here in the dark.
I was wondering what that sound was.
I was like, "What? Oh man!" But
just
we're
hanging out in the dark.
Yeah, we're still going.
I'm gonna call you Carolina, getting left in the dark.
Oh, leaving me in the dark. But
hey, we talked about it. They have bad owners.
Yeah, dude. Everyone seems to agree. It's like it's all the rebuilding teams and Carolina. Yeah. I know. On the Athletic player poll last year that they did, they were voted for the worst away arena, and one of the comments from the players was they renovated the away locker room in the offseason, and it's still the worst in the league. And that's just so funny. The year that it was Arizona in Mullet Arena, like Mullet Arena beat them out by like 5% of the vote for worst arena. Like, it was close between Mullet Arena and what they have over in Raleigh. So,
and for those who don't know why Carolina's is so bad, it's 2 dressing rooms basically. You're not all there together as one. You get separated.
And the
is
goal,
bad.
there's no room on the bench for the backup goalie, so he usually has to sit like over by the Zamboni doors on a stool.
Yeah, that happens in a lot. That happens in a lot of arenas, specifically the ones
Oh, really?
where you don't have a direct tunnel from um from the dressing room. Like you got to come out from the corner
Yeah,
all
it's not
across the ice to your bench. It's
right.
usually those arenas. There was one case though. I can't remember what team it was. Yeah, I think it might have been the Islanders when Patrick Waugh came in. In one of those arenas, he was like, "Nope, goalie, you're coming with us. We're all gonna cram on here on the bench and get uncomfortable." Because
Yeah, I
and
I
makes
do
sense
think it
because
was
he's a
that.
goalie. It's like we're a team. You're not sitting all by yourself all alone. You're part of the team. So we're gonna fit you on here, and
Yeah,
they did. So it's possible, but teams don't like to do it because there's not enough room.
yeah. Um, but enough bashing on the Hurricanes, because they're doing pretty good in their division, and they're currently on a 4-game win streak. A lot of win streaks going on. The Caps are also on a 4-game. Panthers are on a 6-game win streak. Sens on a 3-game heater, above the Canadians and Red Wings, who are both on a losing streak. The Red Wings are at a 6-game losing streak.
Yeah, they've come back down to earth a bit.
They could have bought at the deadline, but they didn't. Um, do
Yeah,
you think there's
yeah.
going to be much movement in these this playoff situation before the playoffs start? Like we still have 18-ish games for most teams left.
I mean, I think so. Like, when you look at the East, it's so different from the West. You've got in the Atlantic, you've got Florida 83, Toronto 81, Tampa 78, and then so a lot of movement between those teams. I don't see an Ottawa, well, really just Ottawa, because Montreal it isn't getting up there with Tampa and them. So you've got those three teams that are kind of battling it out. All three who bought big at the deadline to make their teams even better, and they're all going to have to battle it out down the regular season and then battle it out in the playoffs. The Metro, Washington, we know is fine there. 92 points. Carolina 80, New Jersey 74. Columbus is creeping up on New Jersey a bit though. Only 2 points back, 2 games in hand. New Jersey's kind of slipping, especially without Jack Hughes. Columbus is getting healthier. They're getting it going. Like Columbus could
They got Boone Jenner back, their
hop.
captain.
Yeah, sick name still. Columbus could jump New Jersey. I think the thing in the East I'm most curious about is if it comes down to it, and I'll just assuming the standings just stay the same, like no one from the outside jumps in, none of these teams fall down. Ottawa and Columbus are right now 1 and 2 for the wild card. If Columbus jumps Ottawa and is up on them by 1 point, and in the final game of the regular season, if I'm Ottawa, I would go out there and lose. As long as you're in the playoffs, like you've already clinched.
Yeah,
I would lose. I would much rather be in wild card 2 than wild card 1. And it's not even close. I wouldn't even give it a second thought. I would tell all my players, like, you don't even score, goalie, give out as many rebounds and fumbles as possible. Like, I just think it's way more important if you want to win the cup to be in wild card 2 than 1.
why is that? What
Again,
implication does that have for the playoffs?
this is assuming that Florida, Toronto, Tampa battle it out, and Washington stays 1. Because I would much rather finish wild card 2, and crazy as it sounds, I'd rather play Washington in round 1. Because
I agree.
if you finish wild card 1, you either have to play Florida, Toronto, or Tampa round 1. That sucks. Oh,
The best
somehow
of those teams, by the way.
you somehow upset them and beat them. You got to play another one of them. Like, again, it's probably not going to be fun to play Washington, but regardless of who you get in the Atlantic, it's not going to be fun. And I'd much rather take my chances if you win against Carolina and New Jersey as opposed to either Florida, Toronto, or Tampa. Like, if you're a wild card team in that Atlantic, you're not coming out on top. You're either going out first or second round. So,
I mean, I don't disagree that I would definitely rather play the Caps than any of those 3 teams. As weird as that is, considering 92 points on the season for the Caps already.
It's not even necessarily that. It's just that you look at if you can get out of that first round. I would much rather play a Carolina or New Jersey, over if the standings stay the exact same, a Toronto or Tampa.
I would hope that I would be fine with losing that game. I don't think the coaches would ever tell their team go out there and lose. I think that's just like one of those things that you just don't see in these sports at this level.
No, you wouldn't see it, but if I was the coach, I would do that.
You might. Yeah. If it's if you're down a goal, maybe you pull the goalie a little bit early when it seems a little weird, and oh no, in the empty net, that's crazy.
Yeah. No players would ever go out there and purposely lose, but you're kind of sitting there looking at like, yeah, you'd much rather be wild card 2 than wild card 1.
Yeah,
I would like just going through that Atlantic it just looks like a nightmare.
It's an absolute war zone. I have no idea who's going to come out on top. I don't know what the matchup's going to be. It looks like so the Panthers have actually leapfrogged the Leafs recently. So now it would be, as it stands right now, it would be Panthers, Blue Jackets, and then Toronto, Tampa, and then Washington Senators, Hurricanes,
Florida
Devils.
Team that's on a 6-game win streak right now, and they're going to continue to play great down the stretch. And then you go up with, like, for all we know, they're not going to get Tkachuk back regular season. I don't know about Marchand, but like the fact that they're playing as good as they are right now, and Ekblad's out now, Tkachuk and Marchand, like even they won 6 in a row with Ekblad in the lineup, so don't even call it that. But the fact that they're doing what they're doing right now, and you still have Marchand and Matthew Tkachuk that are going to be slotted into that lineup, like that's
like it's nasty, man. Like they've got a guy in Tkachuk sitting out that if in 4 months' time, if they win the cup and he had a Conn Smythe, I wouldn't be shocked at that turnout. Like they're doing it without him. Like they are my favorite. They are the favorite team for me to come out of the East. Honestly, I think it's
so, because
really likely we get Panthers Stars.
And Bruins fans are weird. You go from being upset that Marchand's gone, he was starting, so the team just shitting on him, being like, oh, he's a third liner now. Have fun in Florida. It's like, grow up. All right. Go through a rebuild like everyone else has had to at one point or another. You bums.
They haven't. That's why they don't know what to do. They haven't. Being a Boston sports fan is nothing but winning, and it's so good to see them have to sell. And like every sport, they just crush it in, and it's so annoying.
And like even with Marchand, if he's a third liner, if Florida goes on to win the cup, Marchand could be on the third line and have 10 goals, 10 assists, be a 20-point guy on the third line.
Yeah,
like it's very well possible. Yeah, like whoever you are, you just want to stay away from Florida.
Yeah,
really do.
Last year I was of the belief, pretty vocally on the podcast, that you know what, I don't want to play against Toronto. I'd rather take the Panthers, which was a crazy take back then because the Panthers were phenomenal last year as well. And they ended up beating us. And now I'm looking at this year and I'm the exact opposite. Now I'm like, yep, Panthers, go off. Finish top of the division. We'll take 2 or 3 and we'll face Toronto because I'd much rather that than deal with you guys.
Yeah. Do you think, looking at the way the standings are right now, is there any team outside, so basically from wildcard 3 down, Rangers at 68, Montreal 66, Detroit 66, Boston 66, Islanders 65? I don't think Philly, Pittsburgh, and Buffalo are making it, so I'm going to count them out.
I think
Do you think any of those teams jump in? Do any of these teams find their way into the
Islanders?
mix?
I don't think so. I can't see
it.
I
wasn't going to say Islanders, but they're like
numbers wise
team in the league.
It's definitely possible.
To always, defy the odds when people count them out. So I included them. I don't think they do, but if they did, I wouldn't be shocked in the slightest.
Yeah,
but I do think that they miss, especially with trading Nelson.
Yeah, any team above the Islanders has a decent chance, in my opinion. I would not be shocked at all if the Rangers got in. They're only 2 points out, and they won the Presidents last year. Like, and they've only added Miller since. Like, they're a great team. They just got to put it together. Canadians, I mean, they're only 4 points out. I don't know how they're doing it, but they're all their young guys are starting to come to their own. Like, yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if they did. The Red Wings, they're still in it despite being on such a slide that they've been on lately in the 6-game loss streak. But yeah, and then the Bruins, I'd love to see them just lose their remaining 15, 18 games, however many, but like it's just the
You
Bruins,
can't
man.
count them out.
It's the
Yeah.
Bruins. You can't count them out. The second we go, oh, but they traded most of the top 6. Pasternak's going to score 4 points a game for the rest of the year, win the Hart Trophy, and they're going to go win a cup for no reason. Like
Yeah.
that's just how it works with Boston.
But do you?
I'll count them
do you-
out after game 82 ends.
Yeah. Do you? But are you? What is your prediction though? I guess is what I'm asking.
Oh, sorry.
Like, are the teams that are in? No. That was good to
Yeah.
kind of get your insight though a little bit on it. Do you think any of these teams actually finish in the playoffs, or is it looking like? Are you predicting who's in right now is going to be who's in for the East?
I think I have one prediction. I think it stays the same except for one team. And I don't like predicting this because the team falling out I like, and the team going in I don't like. But I think the Blue Jackets are going to pass the Devils in the Metro, and then the Rangers will also pass them and take a wild card spot. I think the Devils are going to fall out of the playoffs without Jack Hughes.
Ooh. Damn. I agree. I completely agree. That's exactly what I'm kind of looking at when I'm seeing it.
And I don't like it because I like the Devils, and I'm not a huge fan of the Rangers. It's fun to watch them fall off a bit, but
Is this one of those things?
We keep talking about how bad they've been this year. A single win, and they're tied for second wild card. Like they're right there, and there's 20-ish games left. I don't see them missing out.
And
The Devils
I
having a rough time without Hughes.
I don't want Devils fans to take this the wrong way. If there is any Devils fans listening, I kind of hope they miss, and not because I dislike the Devils. If they make it, awesome. I'd love to see them go on a bit of a run and prove that.
Are there pick implications here?
But no, it goes back to something we talked about before the season, and that was that they brought in Sheldon Keefe, and I've said like no way he gets fired if regardless after this season. But you talked about how if things don't go right, is there a chance like Sheldon Keefe's a one and done? And I was on the side saying like no way, but you were talking about it that hey, maybe anything could happen if they miss the playoffs. Not super likely because Jack Hughes got injured, but if New Jersey misses the playoffs, like does Sheldon Keefe maybe go? Do you maybe like fuck? Like man, we brought in a goalie, we brought in all these things, and like still couldn't get it done. Beefed up the blue line beyond belief.
I doubt it, just because between the Jack Hughes injury and also the Dougie Hamilton injuries that he's been dealing with this year, I think those are two big enough losses.
I think there would be a little bit of a conversation, maybe.
I definitely think it'll be at least a bit of a narrative. I think people will be talking about it, but
I'm still on the side that he doesn't. But it would be interesting because you were bringing up the idea that could happen before the season even started, and I was like, no way. But I think he was both of our Jack Adams picks, so we can throw that out the window.
Yeah, I think
we can fire that into the sun.
Yeah, all I know is I did not have Spencer Carberry.
Yeah, no. I don't think anyone did. And if you did, tell me the lottery numbers. Tell me the lottery numbers.
Yeah. Holy crap.
Moving over to the West. The West is not as much of a dogfight as the East. There's definitely not as much to talk about here, but what are your thoughts on where we're at in the West here?
So with the West, it's weird because there's these teams at the top that are like quite a bit ahead. Like the Jets, the Stars, they're in. Vegas, they're in. The Oilers, I'll say they're in because I mean they can lose a bunch of games, but when they need to, their stars will carry them there. The Kings win a weird amount of games, in my opinion, for the last couple of years. Like I never think of them as one of those top teams, but like every time I look at their record, I'm like, bro, they have like 20 more wins than losses on the year. Is that right? Like His team doesn't jump off the page at me, but they still play that defensive style and get really good results. The Avs are making it. Like I don't see any of those teams in the top 3 Central or Pacific really falling out.
I don't either.
At the moment, I don't see the Wild falling out, but man,
I don't think they do.
They're down to a -6 goal differential on the year. God. By the end of November, it was either them or the Jets were going to be my pick for the President's Trophy. Like they were
it's
on fire, man.
It's not even that Minnesota's a bad team. It's just injuries. Like Jonas Brodin is out. Their top defenseman. Kaprizov has been struggling. Like he's been injured a lot over the last bit after the hot start to the season. And now Joel Eriksson next. So your top defenseman, your best player on your team, and your number 1 center. All out. Like that is it's like Gustafsson wearing bubble wrap at all times, man.
Yeah.
Like,
and
it's just all the top dogs going down.
To be fair, the start of this year was an absolute gift for them because nobody expected them to be good this year because they've got $14.7 million of the cap taken up on guys who are both 40. One is retired and one does he even have a team? Suter?
Yeah, Suter's on the Blues. No, he's on the Blues.
Oh, he's on the Blues.
He's on the Blues. Yeah, really. Yeah. Like no one talks about him as much anymore, though.
Yeah, they got all this dead cap. The fact that they did as well as they did at the start of the year is nuts. But I would love to see them be able to make it.
I don't think they do.
I think
they
so,
make
but
the playoffs.
It's a bit of a race at the bottom still because so the Wild are the first wild card spot with 76 points. And after that, it is the Flames with 70. So there's a 6-point gap there that the Wild have a bit of a cushion, but the Flames absolutely do not. They're at 70. The 2 teams behind them, the Canucks and the Blues, are both at 69. A single win for any of those teams is massive. And Utah Hockey Club, 67. Hell, the Ducks are at 63. They're 7 points out of the playoffs right now. I don't think they're going to make it, but they're not out of the race yet, which is nuts.
Yeah.
And they've got games in hand on a few of these guys too. I don't know how they're doing it. I guess their guys are just all starting to put it together, coming to their own. They're getting real good goaltending as well in Dostal and Gibson. But I was gonna say I'm gonna count out Utah, but they're only 3 points out. If you're thinking Minnesota stays in, assuming you also believe that Jets, Stars, Avs stay in, Knights, Oilers, Kings stay in, does Calgary hold on to wildcard 2, or do you think one of these other teams takes it?
It's tough. First off, you told me going into this year that after the trade deadline, Edmonton, Calgary, and Vancouver are pretty much the same. I would not believe you. You look at it, if you take half of the overtime losses that Calgary and Vancouver have, Calgary has 10, Vancouver has 11, you split that in half and say they win half of those, they're right up there with Edmonton. That is mind-blowing how close they are in that race.
I guess, but at the same time, 37-23 for the Oilers, 30-23 for the Flames, that's pretty different. Maybe it's just because they win all those OT games, but
that's what I'm saying. You take half of Calgary's overtime losses, say they win half, they're now at 35. They all have 23 regulation losses. Is what I'm getting at.
You know what? That's fair. That's fair.
If you take half, Calgary's sitting there 30, 35, 23, and 5, as opposed to Edmonton's 37, 23, and 4. It's those loser points. If you win some more of those, puts in a better spot. In terms of the wild card spot, because again, I do think Minnesota makes it. Again, there's always a chance, but I don't see St. Louis or Utah getting into that last spot. I really think it comes down to Calgary and Vancouver. And Vancouver's slipping. Quinn Hughes is still injured. I think Calgary makes it, honestly. And this
It'll
is
be
one of those
real
times
interesting.
where if the Hart Trophy was given out based on what they claim the award is, most valuable to their team, Calgary Flames make the playoffs. Dustin Wolf, rookie, Hart Trophy. Like Calgary is the I don't have it here. I saw it the other day, but I can't find it now, and it bums me out. They are the worst offensive team in the league in almost every single category. In terms of like goals for, think of like almost every offensive team stat you can imagine. Calgary's like bottom of the league.
Wow. Yeah, I've got a couple of them here.
And they're in a playoff spot right now.
Yeah, dude, that's nuts. That
it's like how we talked about.
They are
Charlie
32nd in goals. They are absolute dead last in the goals for 2.56 per game. They're tied for 31st, which I'm pretty sure means they're last, with shooting percentage at 8.8. Their face-off percentage is even at 29%, or a 29th in the league at 46%. Like they have a lot of really rough stuff. 31st in the league for penalty minutes as well at 10.3 per game.
Penalty kill is 26, but their goals allowed, they're 12th. 12th best team in goals allowed per game. Like they're it's like how people were talking about, like, didn't Charlie Lindgren get a Hart vote or two last year?
Yeah, he got a singular 5th place Hart Trophy vote.
And Chicago or Washington wasn't near as bad offensively as Calgary is this year. And yet here we are after the trade deadline. You know, they got off to a hot start. People are like, "Oh, they're gonna fall off." They're still in it.
Yeah,
they're 5 points back of the Kings. Calgary goes on a 3-game heater. Kings lose 2 in a row. Boom. Calgary's now up into 3rd in the Pacific.
Yeah,
I mean,
honestly,
again, he's not going to win the Hart because they always just give it to most points, most goals, biggest name, whatever. But if they voted on it based on what they claim the award is, Dustin Wolf. Like,
see,
Calgary should not be in a playoff spot.
No, but also like there's a lot of teams where like Minnesota, if you took away Gustafsson, I don't think they're making it. Like hell, Edmonton, they're only in by 8 points without Draisaitl. Like they're cratered.
Yeah, but you expect it from the big name guys. It's the fact that it's a rookie goalie, like putting the entire team on his back.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%. It's crazy impressive. I mean, we're talking about him in conversation with those guys is like just insanely impressive, but to actually be the most valuable is,
I think he's most valuable to his team
in the league
right now. Yeah, without him,
no.
Calgary's Calgary's below Seattle. They're below Nashville. Like they're with San Jose and Chicago for first overall.
I don't think they're that far down without him. I think they're a lot worse.
They're literally the worst offensive team. Like Dan Vladar's not putting this team on his back and carrying them. No disrespect to Dan Vladar, but like Dustin Wolf's just a freak.
Yeah.
Like you look at his numbers: 3 shutouts, 9.15 save percentage, 2.52 goals against. He's a dog, man.
Absolute dog, but I'm sorry. I'm just not. We don't even know if he's going to win the Calder. I'm not saying he would be my vote for the Hart Trophy.
But again, it's based off what it is. Like you can say, yeah, Draisaitl best player in the league, but Edmonton's still making the playoffs without him.
No shot. Not even close.
Oh yeah, they're making it over Vancouver, St. Louis.
They're in by 8 points.
They're still making it.
They're only in by 8 without him. He's leading the league in goals by over 10. Like without him, like there's no shot they're making. They probably don't make it without McDavid.
But it's what I'm saying, that like we expect this stuff from Draisaitl. No one expected.
Well, yeah, but you can't take away votes from. You can't take away a guy's Hart vote because you expected him to be good. It's not the Jack Adams where we give it to the guy who overachieved.
But I'm more so just going based on what it is. Again, like I still think Edmonton makes the playoffs. without Draisaitl. Like it's the fact that it's just a rookie goalie that literally took a team that everybody had a bottom 3 team in the entire league. Like I had San Jose finishing higher than Calgary this year, and Dustin Wolf's. I think Calgary makes the playoffs. Like I think he gets them into a playoff. So again, I don't have a vote in it, but if I had to vote, or if I got the privilege of having a vote, Dustin Wolf, he is my Calder pick, and I would pick him for the Hart.
It's a great Calder pick.
He is.
If we're going on
short,
who helps the team the most, I think I would have to give it to Zach Werenski. 27 minutes of time on ice per game for that guy. 26 minutes and 54 seconds.
But then why wouldn't I just say I Draisaitl over Werenski?
I think that's the argument. I think it's guys like that who, without the team, without the thing, either of them, is right in that conversation. Yes, but he has not elevated his play like they have, in my opinion.
But that's unfair to say a rookie can never win because they have no track record.
No, it's not because of the track record. It's because he's not even a top 5 goalie this year.
Sure he is.
He's
100%.
Okay, you know what? I thought his stats were a little low. He's knocking on the door of it. He at least has an argument for it. I will definitely say that. He's not a top 3 goalie. I'm confident in saying he's not top 3 because in my mind, that's pretty ironclad. Hellebuck, Vasilevsky, Logan Thompson. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. So,
but again, I look at all those guys. All those teams make the playoffs still without those guys. Like Winnipeg,
maybe
Tampa, Washington.
I don't know. Any team that has any of the top 10 best goalies this year, I look at all of those teams without them, and a lot of them have weak backups, and I go, I could see any of these teams falling out because goalies are very important. Like,
most important position on the team, no doubt. Look at Edmonton.
Yeah,
they're a prime example of that.
Dude, Tampa's got a sick team this year. Bro, if we're running Jonas Johansson for 55, 60 games and a guy I don't even know the name of for the other 20, we're probably not making the playoffs, man, because we're getting 880s every game. Like,
yeah, I guess in Tampa's case, yeah, because
there's a lot of teams like that. You know, Anthony Stolarz with the Leafs, if he ends up being your backup, you're absolutely fine. But a lot of teams would be off very rough without their starters. So I feel like it's weird to give it to a guy on a fringe playoff team because they made it, in part due to him. Absolutely the most important part of that team making it. But, you know, imagine giving it to Wolf this year and then Hellebuck sitting there with his 8 shutouts and a 926 going, what did he say fuck me for?
But again, I'm doing it based off what the award is what they say the award is for, not what they actually give it out for. I'm going off, again, this is all based on what they claim it's for, not how I'm just saying,
if it was based on that, I would still not give it, because I think there's guys who help their team more than he did.
And that's fair. I'm not budging on my stand. I'm stand up because it's
that's fair.
Because again, it's just you look at all these other teams and we expect at least a good season or a decent season, whereas Calgary was like, we 100% we're going into the season thinking like you could end up first overall with how bad your team was looking.
Yeah. Well, you want to talk about teams overachieving, then Logan Thompson's right in, because holy crap, I still can't believe that the Caps are keeping this up, man. Like,
no slowing down for him.
I had
slowing down.
Like, I don't remember. I don't know if I had the Flames in the bottom 3, but I'm pretty sure I had the Caps knocking on the door of it in our preseason predictions. So the fact that they're
I think I had Caps second last in the Metro. Like I had Philly still below them.
We both had them at 7
for sure. Had them missing the playoffs. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, but long story short, I do think Calgary makes it again. I just think there's too much shit going on with Vancouver, with injuries, with Pettersson still. Like before he scored the other night, over the year of 2025, Ilya Sorokin had the same amount of goals as him.
Yeah, it's brutal.
He just can't get it going. Lankin's been good, kind of started to drop off a little bit lately, but still doing fine. But I don't know what's going on with Demko. St. Louis, it could. I think Calgary gets in over them, and Utah, they're not making it.
Yeah. For my money, I'm gonna go with the St. Louis Blues. I think they're on a little bit of a hot streak. They're 7-1-2 in their last 10. They're one of those teams that's 1 point out. So yeah, I hope it's this
Blues
close
is
of a
tough
race
because
to the end of the
they
year.
lose Parayko, which is a big thing for them.
That is true. They did lose him. Yeah. It's rough, man. I don't even know. And like all of these teams, it's kind of rough because the Wild -6 goal differential, Blues -7, Utah -9, the Flames -18, the Canucks -19. Like they're whichever one does make it in, and especially in that wild card too, they're going to be facing whoever's at the top, which looks like it'll be the Jets. If anybody does pass them, it's the Stars. That's going to be rough for wild card too.
Yeah,
that's a rough matchup.
Yeah, it's going to be a dogfight down the stretch. So we will definitely be keeping a close tab on the playoff race as it starts to continue to heat up. Especially in the East, it's just so many teams in the mix. It's just going to be an exciting race down the stretch.
Hopefully it's not like last year where we saw a bunch of teams just losing constantly while in that race, and it was basically who can not screw themselves the most instead of who can keep winning.
Well, we did have a final segment here, but I was sent the wrong thing. Some of the numbers didn't add up, so we did scrap it. But we are always prepared with a backup. Braden, I do have another thing here that we have here. So I'm going to.
I was screwed out of my win on that last one.
You were about even by the time I realized how wrong this was. But I do have a blind ranking for you.
Ooh, interesting.
So I have 5 teams here. Yes, we sure do. We are going through we were talking about the standings and playoffs and whatnot. I have 5 teams here, and you're going to rank them 1 to 5 blindly based on how much you would want to play them in the playoffs. So number 1 being the team you'd want to play the most, and number 5 being the team you would want to play the least.
Okay.
Pretty standard. Okay. Pretty simple.
Is this all teams? This isn't East versus West or anything?
Yeah, these are all teams across West and East, and it is only teams currently in a playoff position.
Okay.
As of right now. The first team is the Washington Capitals.
Out of everybody making the playoffs, I will give them a 3. I'm putting them in the middle.
I like that. Number 2, the next team we have up, the Colorado Avalanche.
Ooh, Avs. I was hoping to save a little more room up top. I almost put Washington at 4 because of that. I just can't put them lower. I got to go 2.
I respect that. Yeah, I really don't think you can compared to Washington.
Yeah.
The Carolina
I think one
Hurricanes.
of these teams is going to be in a weird spot, but
the Carolina Hurricanes. Wait, so you actually mean to put Colorado 4? Because 1 is the team you'd want to play the most. Or no, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yes, you're right. Yeah.
So technically 4.
So I would have the Avs at 4. You're right.
Yeah.
The Hurricanes,
Carolina.
They could maybe fit in between those 2 teams, but I don't feel horrible about putting them at 2. They're a really solid team, but they don't have that absolute game breaker on their roster that, that guy that it's like, this guy feels like somebody who will end his career with a Conn Smythe,
Yeah.
A lot of these playoff teams have that guy, so I think I'll put them at 2.
The Florida Panthers.
They're 5.
They're 5. And you left the number 1 spot open, the team you'd want to play the most in the playoffs, the Edmonton Oilers.
Yep. Send them over.
You know what? In my opinion, I think you got a perfect list.
I
Think you got
definitely
a
don't think
perfect
it's
list?
I definitely don't think it's perfect. But it's pretty good all things considered. Uh,
The only change I
realistic.
would maybe is I would swap Edmonton and Carolina, but again, the way Edmonton's defense and goaltending have been looking, I would be more inclined to play them and capitalize on that.
At the moment, I would go honestly, even with all the good things going for the Avs, I would go 5 Panthers, 4 Oilers, 3 Avs, 2 Capitals, and 1 Hurricanes.
Really? Okay. I
Connor
mean,
McDavid
Edmonton is
will not retire
yeah.
without a cup, and we just saw him
Yeah,
do the
I
Conn
don't know if
Smythe
he
while
gets one
losing.
with
Like,
Skinner though. They almost did last year, which would have been great, but based on the play this year,
yeah,
I'm just still blown away that they didn't capitalize when some of the other goalies were on the market earlier this season and the trade deadline. It blows my mind.
I don't know why they wouldn't. Like, come on, man.
I love them going out and getting Jake Wallman. I think he helps their blue line, but it's like
They did good work elsewhere.
it doesn't help when your goaltender's the reason you're losing. At the end of the day.
There's
They just needed a
there's
goalie,
lots of
man.
goalies out there that they could have gone for.
Many. When you knew
Just
Mackenzie
try.
Blackwood was available, I don't know why you didn't just offer up a first. Just be like, first round pick for Blackwood.
Yeah.
Please. When Logan Thompson was available at the draft last year, you give up 2/3 for him all day like Washington did.
Man.
It's
so weird because there are some teams like the Avalanche earlier this year. They tried so many goalies and it felt like nothing would work until they got Blackwood.
Yeah.
Toronto, over the past several seasons, they've had quite a few goalies coming in and out. They're trying to figure out something that can work properly. The Oilers, they've tried a couple of backups, but like Skinner has been in there for quite a bit, and like he's fine, but like fine, bro. You have McDavid and Draisaitl in their prime. Do something better than fine. Like, oh, it's brutal.
It hurts. I think it was Mackenzie Blackwood has the most wins by goalie in the year of 2025.
I wouldn't doubt it. The Avs have been real good in the new year.
Like he's and when he went there, people were like, "Oh, he'll be good," but like they need more than just goaltending. Well, no, they literally just needed a goalie. That's all they needed.
Yeah, that's just so brutal that they didn't go out and get anyone.
But overall, I don't think you did a bad job. With the rankings there, I'm glad I had that as a backup. I did add it because I thought when I was reading over this stuff, I was like, I don't know if this is going to work. It didn't in the end, but hey, you know what? We tried. But I think that is everything we got for this episode. Again, if you want to join in on the hockey talk with us, you can do so. All of our socials are down below. Links in every episode across all platforms. Braden, as I'm assuming you're still sitting there in the dark.
I am.
Final thoughts.
Final thoughts. 1, 2, 3, 4 goalies are tied for second in wins since January 1st, 2025. Mackenzie Blackwood, Connor Hellebuck, Ilya Sorokin, and Jake Ottinger all have 13. Andrei Vasilevsky, 14 wins.
Oh, well, there we go.
Might be 15 tonight. I don't know. I'll have to go watch the game right now. In the light. Get out of the dark basement.
Yeah, get out of the dark. But that will wrap up everything for this episode. Once again, hope you guys all enjoyed. And as always, we will see you guys out on the ice on Friday later this week.